Well, good morning, everyone. This is the Government and Public Administration session for Career Expo. I am Jamie Zastro. I am the Executive Director of Progress Lakeshore. We are the economic development organization in Manitowoc County. I am just doing introductions today. I'm not a speaker. So with that, I would like to turn this over to our speakers today, representing the City of Manitowoc and the U.S. Army, and let them introduce themselves properly and give you some great information on careers in their field. So who's ever first, unmute.
Hey, good morning. I'm Staff Sergeant. I'm an Army recruiter over here in Manitowoc. We're right next to the Starbucks. It's me, Sergeant Poe, and Sergeant Marino that are over here. Just a little bit about myself. So I actually was born and raised in Manitowoc. Graduated from Mishkat in 2008. Joined the Army in 2010 and been active duty ever since. So I got about 12 years time in service right now. Our schedule for a typical day is, if you're in training, you're gonna be up early, running to really late. They don't give you much time for doing personal stuff. There's a lot to cram in 10 weeks while you're in boot camp, and then also a lot to cram in during your job training, which is anywhere between 7 and 54 weeks. But once you get done with training, whether you decide active duty or reserve, if you're on active duty, it's going to be about 6 o'clock in the morning. You're doing PT, which is your running, push-ups, sit-ups, staying in shape. And then your day will be done about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's also depending on what job you have, the missions that you got going on, and so on and so forth. Like I said, I've been in industry or the Army for 12 years. I was a truck driver before becoming a recruiter, so 6 years as a truck driver, 6 years as a recruiter, and I'll be a recruiter for the rest of my career. So I got about 8 more years left. Indoor, outdoor work, we have over 150 jobs to choose from, and you get to choose them. That's the big thing with going through the Army. We don't tell you what you got to do. It's all based off your ASVAB score and what you're trying to do. So indoors or outdoors, we have office jobs, we have mechanics, engineers, medical, all kinds of good stuff. Intel is a big one. Are there dangers in are there any dangers in this field of work? Yes, we are the military. I'm not gonna lie. It's also job dependent too. So I mean, if you're a cook and you end up deploying, you're gonna be a cook. I mean, you're not going out there kicking indoors, taking names type thing. That's for infantry guys. I like my job because I've been recruiting for 6 years. I've probably changed 100 people's lives at least. I haven't kept count, but it's got to be close to 100. And they stay in touch with me. They say, this has helped me out, my family, this, that, and third. So it's always nice hearing that, help somebody do something better with their life. What class did I take in high school? All right, so as far as the enlisted side of things, I only got 10 minutes to talk. There's many opportunities in the Army on which direction you want to go. Most of it's enlisted side, what we do here, but we can also put in officers. But if you're trying to get into like medical fields within the Army, you're gonna need certain math and English classes. So typically like your calculus, and then that is one science one. Not sure. I'll have to get back to you on that one. College, I didn't have to have any college to join as an enlisted side. If you are trying to come in as an officer, you are going to need a 4-year degree in whatever. It could be an arts degree, and you won't do anything with arts degree, but you'll be coming in as an officer. Some of our jobs do require a driver's license. Not many. It's like MP or military police and truck driving. And the wages. Since we've been mostly talking about the enlisted side of things, just to keep it simple, your average person comes in as an E2 through our office. So there's different ways to get promoted before getting shipped. But initially when you enlist, you're an E1, so it's like $1,800 a month. And Uncle Sam still takes his money from that. So there's taxes off that. But as a single soldier, you're not paying for anything. Like you're not paying for rent, you're not paying for utilities, you're not paying for your food. Everything's provided for you. So essentially your money's going towards wherever you want it to go towards. But then we had steady promotions. So you can make E2 either before you ship or 6 months after joining and shipping off, and then E3 in a year, E4 in 18 to 24 months, depending. All that really means is more money, more responsibility. As you gain rank, you get a lot more responsibility. So me being a staff sergeant, typically I'm in charge of a platoon of like 40 people. But since I'm recruiting, there's only 2 of us in the office. It's pretty chill. There's not really one set person in charge. There's one person that takes all the phone calls, and that's about it. Education, it's the same across the board. So there's always misconceptions. Well, even with the pay, that other branches pay more or offer more for education. We're all federally funded if you're going active duty, and it's all the same. So we pay for your college. You can go to college on active duty. That's a big misconception. You get $4,000 to use a year, which comes out to about 12 credits. You go online, in class. It all depends on your chain of command. The Montgomery J bill, which most people know about, that's for college money. Once you get out, they'll pay for any 4-year degree, essentially. But being a Wisconsin resident and a veteran, they offer a program where you can go to any UW school and it'll pay for your 4-year degree. And then you could use your GI benefits afterwards to go towards master's if you so choose. That's pretty much it. I'm trying to keep it within 10 minutes. I don't know how far along I'm in. Open up for questions.
You're doing okay. Does anyone have any questions? You can either unmute or type something in the chat room. I'm monitoring the chat room. I don't have anything there right now, but otherwise we can ask questions at the end as well. Not seeing any. So why don't we move on to Adam?
All right, well, good morning, everybody. My name is Adam Tagan. I'm the Community Development Director for the City of Manitowoc. So I've been in the planning economic development field for about 20 years now. I started actually as an intern with the City of De Pere while I was in college. Then my first job was in the City of Belvedere and Boone County, which is in Illinois. That's kind of near Rockford, if you're familiar with Illinois at all. From there, I actually moved back to the state of Wisconsin and took a job with the City of Wisconsin Rapids, where I was there for about another decade. And then about 2 years ago, I moved to the City of Manitowoc. So in this field, there's usually the opportunity to move around if you want to. Otherwise, it's not uncommon for someone to start in a job and just stay there for their entire career. So how did I get here in high school? Like most people, I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do, but I did gravitate towards what I would call kind of natural science classes, things like geography, biology, chemistry, which set the stage for when I did go to the University of Green Bay. I ended up majoring in geography with a minor in urban and regional studies. For classes there, really for the most part, again, natural sciences. So whether it was geography, mapping, history, all those type of things fed into that major relatively well. If you are going into a planning or economic development type of field, there's not a specific degree that you need. I've seen anything from myself, geography, to public administration. There's actually planning degrees that you can get specifically for that. But generally, they're looking for a 4-year degree and really the ability to look at maps, comprehend, things like that. So it is a flexible career in that regard. When you're starting off in planning or economic development, there's not a requirement for a license. So you can start just with your 4-year degree. That being said, there are certain certifications that exist in both career paths. Then there's the AICP, which stands for American Institute of Certified Planners for planners. Economic development, there's one called the Economic Development Finance Professional. But again, there's a variety of things. Mainly, most people utilize them for career advancement and for salary advancement. So certain municipalities are going to look for those. A lot of times it's encouraged versus required. That all feeds into your earning potential. Typically, right now, I think coming out of college with a 4-year degree going into planning, probably looking around 45 to 50,000 annual salary. As you progress your way up into a director position, for example, you can make north of 100,000. So it depends where you specialize and what you end up in. Typical benefits, obviously public sector is a little bit different than private sector. Traditionally, you'll see a little lower wage, but you have advantages such as job security is usually a little bit better if that's what's important to you. Benefits are pretty typical. You'll have health insurance, life insurance, those type of things. One big benefit for retirement is that you do get enrolled in the Wisconsin retirement system. Typical days, I mean, for me, it's usually 7 to 5, Monday through Friday. So it is a Monday through Friday job. You will have night meetings typically with this career that can range from city council to committee meetings, to going out and talking to veterans groups or talking to various nonprofits just that want to know what's going on in the city, working with downtown groups, whatever it may be. So as a result, primarily it is an indoor job, but that being said, you're still going to get out of the office on occasion. Usually that's tied to site visits. If you're reviewing a development, for example, going out and verifying that they're doing it according to plan. Or in my career, a lot of times you get to go out and you get to meet with businesses, get a tour of their facility, learn about what they're doing, what they need, that type of thing. So with that, I'm going to try and bring up some slides so you don't have to just stare at me, and show you a little bit kind of specific examples of kind of some of the things that you'll see. So hopefully you can see that. So within community development, that's a pretty broad term. So obviously I dabble in all of this a little bit, but usually there'll be specialized people within a community development department. One of the things you'll deal with is geographic information systems. Think of it as digital mapping. This is just a couple of examples of our internal map that we use to track all sorts of things, whether it's property ownership, assessed values, have the ability to monitor where water and sewer lines are for development. You can get into very granular detail. For example, we have one application that has every single road sign in the entire city mapped out. And that is mainly so we can track when we need to replace. If one gets damaged, we know what type of pole it's on, all those type of things. So it can be a very powerful tool for government. So typically a geography degree for this, otherwise there are specialized certificates for GIS as well. Kind of another aspect is what I would kind of consider economic development. So this is an example of probably a project that a lot of you are familiar with, affectionately known as Big Blue. It was a huge Navy crane that was assembled and fabricated here in Manitowoc. So the city working with not only Cone Cranes, who was the owner, I guess, of the crane until it was shipped out, but also Broadwind Heavy Fabricators, who is the firm that actually provided the labor and a lot of the work to actually get this complete. So working with them on making sure they have the resources they need. For example, they needed a rail line to be able to build this and ship it out. It's a huge dollar cost that doesn't necessarily help their bottom line. So working with the state, we were able to get them additional funding to make that project work. There's also what we would consider zoning, which is kind of the day-to-day regulation of what you can and cannot do with your property within the city. But a lot of times that's working with businesses and figuring out where is the best location for them, how can we make it fit on the parcel, and most importantly, a lot of times is making sure that we're protecting the public health, safety, welfare of the rest of the city. Obviously, the days of having a big, huge manufacturing plant belching out smoke and pollution right next to homes, that's not really desirable. So zoning a lot of times tries to prevent those conflicts. This is just a couple examples of projects that happened this year. On the left is Dram Corporation, which relocated from just outside the city into our industrial park. And on the right is Redline Plastics, which relocated into our industrial park and is undergoing an expansion. Next kind of aspect, I guess I would kind of consider planning. So planning in a nutshell is really helping the city decide what it wants to be when it grows up. An example of that is looking at our downtown. Downtown traditionally had been on the decline. So you look at plans and initiatives on how do we change that? How do we turn that around? So over the last 5 years in particular, the city's been heavily investing in the downtown area with public improvements and things to kind of change that narrative. So some examples of park improvements on the left, where we tried to clean up a underutilized park by adding amenities. And then on the right, you see kind of the streetscape that we've been investing in. putting in ornamental lighting, putting in landscaping, trees, flowers, all those things to really change the look and feel of downtown. So a lot of time that initiative will start actually within the planning department. And then the final category I just kind of consider as community development. So community development a lot of times is how can we improve the community? How can the government be there to help? I mean, there's usually a joke, I'm here from the government and I'm here to help. And most people don't really see it that way. But we do try to be that outward facing arm of the government. So one program we use is the facade grant. So the city will work and actually put money towards the rehabilitation of historic structures in the downtown. If you're familiar with Pizza Garden, that's obviously the project on the screen. That was an old building that had unfortunately used to be beautiful and over time became less so, but through the city's assistance and obviously a dedicated property owner, we were able to bring that building back to life. One thing I will note is this is not an individual job by any stretch of imagination. You definitely are a member of a team, whether that's within the community development department or whether that's in the larger scope of working within city government, working with other departments such as the mayor's office, the city attorney, the finance department, a life safety division, public infrastructure, all those pieces really do come together. So as a result, I guess when I get asked the question, why do I like my job? It's a unique job in the fact that you get to influence where your municipality goes or where your area goes, whether you're working for a county or a city or a village. You get a say in that because you're working very closely with elected officials, with city staff, and with the public. And a lot of times that will come together and into a major project that you can drive by and you can say, I had a hand in that. It's a very cool feeling. That being said, there's also the advantage of it's not typical that you're going to have 2 days the same. You know, you come into work on Monday, you think you're going to work on something and something comes up and you get to go off to the side and work on something else. So it is a diverse job that it's not just the same thing Monday through Friday. So an example of kind of how all this comes together, this is a promotional video we put together for basically our River Point district, which is downtown, that I would like to kind of just show you, assuming this works. Hopefully you can see the video.
Content to sit back and let things happen. The city of Manitowoc has exciting developments in progress. The redevelopment of the former CN Peninsula into the River Point district is the biggest project currently in the infrastructure and site prep stage. The River Point district is a 20-acre peninsula on the Manitowoc River near the heart of downtown. Available sites range from ½ an acre to 2 acres in size. Desired uses include residential, multifamily, and townhomes, and mixed use and dedicated areas for commercial, retail, entertainment, or office with footage along the Manitowoc River and only ½ a mile from Lake Michigan. Full city utilities and streets will be extended to the River Point district in spring 2021. The infrastructure, funded by a new TIF district established in 2020, is intended to complement the downtown with a pedestrian-friendly design that includes riverside walking paths and lookouts, a Mariners Trail path extension, and public access points to the river around the enhancements. The River Point district is a unique opportunity for development. It is ideally situated adjacent to the Manitowoc River and Manitowoc's vibrant and dynamic downtown, where many people already live, work, study, and play. Learn more about the River Point district development opportunities and make an impact on the riverfront.
Be inspired by overpriced.
All right, so that's an example of kind of a promotional thing that we have done in the past. And again, it's kind of cool. If you drive by it now, it's even different from that video. There's a new 6-story apartment building going on that'll have 87 units of apartments in it. The new Petskull Brewing, which none of you are old enough to enjoy yet, but when they add a restaurant, you might be able to enjoy it a little bit more. But that has taken place in that district as well. And that's all an old piece of property that was really nothing more than an abandoned rail yard 3 years ago. So it's kind of cool to be able to see that. So ultimately, that's, I guess, what I would say about being community development for the city.
Great. Does anyone have any questions for Adam? I don't have any in the chat, so feel free to unmute your mic if you have any questions for Adam. I do see a question in the chat and I'll open this up for both of you. We'll start with Adam, but what is your favorite part of your job?
Well, in case he's listening, it's always working with the mayor because he's a dynamic and great individual. But if he's not on the line, I would say really my favorite part of the job, again, really going back to being able to impact the community where I live, being able to make a difference. So often some people may be sitting at home thinking, why doesn't the city do this? Or why can't we do this? If I have those questions, I usually have the resources or I know the people that I can try and work with to try and make that difference. So that to me is my favorite part of the job.
And what's your biggest challenge?
Biggest challenge, oddly enough, I would say a lot of times when you work in a municipality, it's overcoming a negative attitude. It's interesting on how people who live in a community their entire life, they don't always necessarily understand what a great community it is or what a great community it can be. So there is a negativity that you deal with at times in city government, but really ultimately it's my job to make sure that there's enough positive things going on that changes that narrative and gets people excited about living, working or playing in Manitowoc.
Great. Same questions for Derek. What's your favorite part of the job and the biggest challenge? And whether that's your job as a recruiter or if you want to address military in general, take it away.
Sounds good. So favorite part of my job is kind of like what I said before, just helping people out. We can make a big impact on the community. It just kind of depends how the community accepts us. And Manitowoc's good. They're very military supportive. So that makes our jobs a little bit easier. Pretty easy access to the schools. I'd say my favorite part would probably just be interacting with all the kids and seeing like what their plans are, if we can help them out, type of thing. Biggest challenge as a recruiter, just the stereotypes that we try to twist people's arms into doing stuff they don't want to do, this, that, and the third. I grew up a very honest person. That's what my parents raised me. Everybody in our office is the same way. We're very laid back, and it's hard to get that across to people because they think all recruiters are the same. As far as the military, I've had lots of challenges, been to a lot of tough schools, been all over the world. But I'd say the biggest one is probably running. I still hate running 12 years later. I still got to do it a lot. But that's it.
Any other of our attendees have questions? If not, I have one for Derek, and I probably know the answer to this, but I know the military itself can be a lifelong career, but are there any post-military career paths that the military is a great option to start?
So you're saying like if somebody did 20 years and then got out?
Well, I'm saying I know you could stay in the military and that could be a career in itself, but whether you go in for 4 years or 8 years, maybe targeting a different career, whether it be engineering, like medical. It's a great way to get a medical degree.
So Sergeant Poe in our office, he's actually works with GIS. He's a geospatial engineer. So he has a degree in geospatial something. He could probably fill you in more on that, but so that's essentially what he's gonna do when he gets all the Army. So he has the degree, did it in Army, so it gives him an experience, and he's probably gonna get a decent federal job when he gets out.
So a great setup for post-military. Yeah, it's a good example.
I've heard the most success from our aviation mechanic side of things because you can just go right into civilian side aviation mechanics, and they usually pay pretty good.
All right. Any other questions from any of our attendees? If not, thank you to Adam and Derek for spending some time. If you have questions that you think about after this, feel free to reach out to your teachers, advisors, whoever, or the chamber staff, and we'll get you connected to get those questions answered. Otherwise, everyone have a great rest of the day.
Thanks.